If you're not willing to go to bat for your families that are in crises, then you have no business being in this building.
It's crazy that people would do that, but they do. They want to protect their jobs more than they want to protect families and children, and it's heartbreaking.
New at 5, families from across the state joined lawmakers from both parties on the steps of the state capitol to demand major reforms within the Oklahoma Department of Human Services. It's the agency that handles child custody, foster care, and adoption issues.
These families and lawmakers say DHS is, quote, holding children hostage as cases sit stagnant. Fox 23 anchor Rick Marinon is live with us in studio after going to the Capitol this morning. Rick, what was the last straw for some of these lawmakers?
Well, Shay, you know firsthand yourself covering some of these stories with me over the years. The group of lawmakers has grown from 1 or 2 to now nearly a dozen, and they're both Democrats and Republicans saying they're having as much challenges with the agencies as the families when it comes to getting answers. They gathered in front of the People's House to say their homes have been torn apart.
We had no idea 6 years ago. I mean, we were telling our kids, law enforcement is good and they're there for your protection, and the DHS and all these agencies are there for your good, and what a rude awakening, And it's not isolated to us.
Dozens at the state capitol Tuesday shared horror stories of how their children were taken away from them by the Department of Human Services and law enforcement. And despite some of them proving their innocence, they still have not gotten their children back.
When we come to the table with you with our problems and stuff, you don't want to help us. And so what you created was a family now. We're all family, have joined together to create change on our own. And so now we have to fight the system to protect our kids.
Democrats and Republican lawmakers like Broken Arrow Senator Nathan Dahm say they've tried to get answers on why some families who have proven their innocence in court continue to have their children in foster care, sometimes with no visitation.
In this, I am not standing alone. I'm not even leading the charge on this. There's other people that are leading the charge on this that are being very vocal, so I'm honored to stand with them when I see that type of courage. While
some believe it's time to tear the agency apart and start fresh, others say changes can be made to what's in place now.
And it is a cabal where the judges almost rubber stamp anything DHS says, and they just have so much power. It's crazy. We need to limit that.
DHS tells me they've made great strides recently when it comes to reforms that started in 2013 under what's called the Pinnacle Plan. This week, DHS announced 3 out-of-state independent child welfare groups said DHS has successfully addressed 23 out of 30 areas of concern. When it came to the plan and the protest, the agency said, quote, Oklahoma Human Services is committed to protecting the safety and well-being of Oklahoma's children. Every child welfare case is different, and the specific details in those cases impacts decisions made by the agency, courts, district attorneys, and others who participate in the case. They went on to state that it is judges and not DHS who determines child custody. State law allows for elected officials to ask about specific cases, but they must maintain confidentiality when discussing the case publicly. The agency says this year so far, it's already handled hundreds of specific requests from elected officials. Quote, Oklahoma Human Services works with legislators and the governor's office throughout the year to address constituent concerns and assist families involved in child welfare services and other programs. East Tulsa Senator Dana Prieto believes change deeper than the Pinnacle Plan is needed.
I had bills this year that I held off on in good faith, thinking that DHS would work with us. It appears they do not want to work with us and are not looking to reform. So I will run those bills.
Prieto says he's ready to pull the trigger on major DHS reforms next legislative session. Here's the hardest part about covering this story today, because there are restrictions on how lawmakers can handle things that have happened in the past. 3 state senators told me today that even if they do get changes to DHS soon, some of those changes will not be able to make changes for the families already caught up in the system right now. Live in studio covering news that matters, I'm Rick Marin on Fox 23 News.
There were multiple families who wanted to share their experiences and stories with Fox 23 today at the Capitol and continue to reach out to us about their experiences throughout the year. DHS says when it comes to specific details, because of privacy laws and policies, it will not discuss any specific instances with any news organizations.